So next up is one of our NKF ambassadors. She is just 25 years old, always has a smile on her face. Welcome, Hattie.
Hi everyone, I'm here today to just give you a little bit of information about me and my experience with sort of the transplant process, dialysis, and all of that kind of good stuff. So that's what I'm going to be talking about with you guys today. So one of the main things I wanted to focus on in today's sort of presentation is just a bit about my journey through my 2 transplants at the age of 25, and just a little bit on how to stay positive and sort of how to fill your time and live your life even though you're going through this sort of process. So I'm Hattie, I'm 25 years old, and like I said, I've had 2 kidney transplants. I had my first one when I was just a baby. My kidneys didn't work when I was born, and I had my second one last year. I studied graphic communication at Spa University. I graduated officially last year. Actually, no, this year. But properly last year, I've handed all my work in. So that was an amazing achievement and something I'm super proud of. And I just try and raise as much awareness as possible for chronic kidney disease online, and just try and inspire others and make everyone realize that it's not just something that can happen when you're older. It's also something that can happen at any age, whether you're born with it or whether it happens, you know, through teenagerhood or young adult life. It's something that can affect anyone. So, like I said, the main thing that I'm going to be talking about today is, what did chronic kidney disease look like for me? Because I know that this can look different for everyone, depending on what stage of your life you're in, what you're going through, your age, your circumstances. So, of course, everyone's journey is going to be completely different. But this is just a little bit about my personal journey. So my first transplant, as you can see, very tiny baby. I was born 6 weeks early at just 1.6 kilos, so I was very, very small. My dad actually had to go out and buy doll's clothes because even premature baby clothes didn't actually fit me. So that was fun. But yeah, so I had a lovely doll's outfit wardrobe. But yeah, I actually managed to avoid dialysis completely before my first transplant, which is incredible. I was very ill, I was sick every day, and on a concoction of medication, but luckily I managed to avoid dialysis, which was so lovely, even though I didn't really realize at the time what was going on because I was a baby. I had my first transplant on the 27th of July 1999, so I was only 2.5 years old. So again, very small, wasn't really sure what was going on, but just knew that there was lots of hospital visits, lots of needles, lots of obviously things that normal kids wouldn't necessarily have to go through. But again, it was kind of just part and parcel of life, and luckily I don't really remember that now. But yeah, so that's another bonus of having it so young, I suppose, is that I don't remember any of it. And when I did finally get my transplant, which was from the donor list, I think I was on the list for about 6 months in the end. It completely transformed my life, and my kidney actually lasted an incredible 22 years. And again, there were lots of checkups, and there were periods of time that I was unwell, as anyone could expect, really. But yeah, ultimately it did amazing, and it got me through school, and it got me through homeschooling because I was homeschooled for a long time, and university, or most of it, like A levels, meeting friends, going out and doing things. So it was incredible. And again, yeah, this is what my life looked like for a good 22 years. So going off holiday with my friends, going out at university, going sort of out to nightclubs, crazy to think because of COVID, obviously, happening the last few years. But yeah, enjoying my time, eating whatever I want. There was no worries about what I was consuming, going to concerts, dyeing my hair crazy colors, all the typical stuff, going to the gym, working out, and just generally enjoying my life for a good 22 years. It really was almost as if nothing was wrong, which is, I suppose, the whole point of a kidney transplant, is to get you to that stage where you are as healthy as you can possibly be. So that is absolutely what I was for a good 22 years. So in the lead up to my second transplant, I was at university. I was in my 3rd year of university, and I just started feeling not very well. I was very tired and started getting a few headaches, and just generally other sort of elements and levels in my blood were starting to just peak and trough and just look a little bit iffy. So in sort of 2019, my kidney started going a bit downhill, and my GFR started slowly decreasing, and it was just time to sort of think about dialysis. My hemoglobin actually was so low that unfortunately transplant wasn't suitable for me initially, so I had to go on dialysis just to try and get the hemoglobin up a little bit, because obviously there are risks related to low hemoglobin and operations. So that was kind of the first point of dialysis, was to try and just actually get all my levels to a point where it was going to be as safe as possible. So I have my neckline, my trusty neckline that served me for a very long time, fitted on May the 3rd, and I actually started dialysis the next day on May the 4th. It's not Star Wars Day, I think. So that was great, and honestly, it wasn't an amazing first experience. It was quite a stressful time, and adjusting was quite difficult with my studies and trying to let my university know and trying to complete my work still, and it was all quite a difficult time, but definitely starting was the start of that journey, and at least I knew at that point we were going to be getting somewhere towards getting my new kidney, I suppose. But yeah, the first sessions were difficult, but I got through, as everyone does. And yeah, so got there in the end. One of the big things was the support from my online community. So I have a Instagram account where I help others. I post a lot about the transplant process and journey and different medications I've tried and what's going on in my life, and generally sort of just give daily life updates as much as I can about what's going on, because if it helps one person, then that means the world to me, and I would have loved to have had that from someone else. So in relative to my age, because everyone I knew was so old going through it. So yeah, it was incredible to receive support from them, and even if they weren't going through it, it was really lovely to speak to other people and just have people outside of the situation supporting. I feel sometimes it can feel like a bit of a bubble, and that the only people supporting you are people you initially know, or your like doctors or your family or friends. And although that's incredible, sometimes it's nice to actually have a bit of broader support from an outside source. So that was really amazing. And everyone did not disappoint. Everyone was so supportive. Everyone asked lots of questions, gave their own sort of influence in terms of if they'd had friends or family that had gone through transplants. So many people have gone through kidney things, whether they know someone of it, or it's happened to a family member, or it's happened to themselves, whether it's transplant, or it's incredible. There are actually so many people out there that you would never know that have gone through kidney transplant journeys. So it was amazing hearing other stories at that point from other people who had their transplant and were living their life to the full. So that was incredible. And yeah, like I said, just everyone giving sort of outside support was really nice, just because it meant that I wasn't on my own. And you know, whenever I was having doubts about whether I could do this journey, there were so many people around me, and it just made the biggest difference, and it was just fantastic. So dialysis was a long experience for me. My dialysis in the end was about 2.5 years, and I had the neckline the whole time. I never had a fistula fitted, because we always sort of were within reach of a transplant date, but unfortunately 4 of those times it fell through. And I had a lot of exhaustion, as I'm sure many of you can understand if you're also on dialysis. Just that dialysis exhaustion is like anything else, unlike anything else. But yeah, so I was still trying to complete all my uni work and just get everything done, complete my course, and actually graduate. And then COVID hit. So I was also trying to deal with that, and there was definitely a lot of different factors that influenced my dialysis experience that I'm sure wouldn't influence others, and that's why this experience does feel so personal, and obviously it's bound to be, but it's just so many things were happening at the same time that it all feels like a bit of a blur. But one of the main things that I experienced during my dialysis was my blood pressure slowly increasing. And I honestly don't really know why that happened. And I think many a doctor will also be scratching their heads about this. But my blood pressure slowly just was increasing over the time and actually got to very high levels, as you can possibly see from the picture. And yeah, it got to around 230 over 145, I think, was about the highest it went, which had everyone sort of a little bit scared, including myself. But it was a crazy time, and again, still got through. Just knew at the end of this journey there would be a kidney and there would be better days ahead. So that is kind of what I kept in my head the whole time, that this was temporary and it was going to be okay. There was lots of trial and error with medication. There were so many drugs that were tried and then didn't work, or my body reacted differently to. So I would definitely say, if you're struggling with medication, or you feel a medication dose is not quite right for you, or you feel like you would like to try a different variation of that medication, just a different, I don't know, drug in the same range. I'm not sure. It depends on your situation, but definitely, back yourself and just go for it, and try as many things as possible to make your journey as easy as possible for you, because there are always other options. And just advocate for yourself and just trust yourself. Just if you don't feel good, ask why. But yeah, I was really lucky that I managed to find different ones that worked for me in the end, and overall we got there. The main thing is just trying to stay positive. I think, like I just said, a lot of what I told myself was just, you can do this. The support from everyone was so incredible, and just reminding myself that it wasn't going to be forever. Everything is temporary, whether, it's you're feeling hungry, you eat something, you feel better. If you're feeling tired, you sleep, you feel better. Every feeling you have ever is temporary. So if you're feeling rubbish about dialysis and you're like super stuck in the situation and you don't think it's ever going to end, just know that it will. You will get to the other side and you will be okay, and you will be fine. Trust me. I was there, I was in that moment, but you've got this. Eventually, I was ready for my transplant. I was so excited to wake up with a new kidney. It felt like such a long time coming after 2.5 years, and so many sort of cancelled dates and, disappointment and all the kinds of different variations of transplant process, I suppose. But I was so excited that it finally come to the day that it was going to happen. I was in the gown, I was ready. I had my kidney from my dad, actually, and I knew it was happening from the moment that I had the call up that he had gone into theatre to have his kidney sort of taken out, I suppose. And from that point I was like, okay, let's go. We're gonna do this time. And I was so excited. Obviously I was nervous about the coming months. I was obviously unsure about what was going to happen, where my levels had been so up and down and my blood pressure was still quite high. There are always worries and anxieties, but I just knew that if I could get through that kind of initial few weeks, then we would be okay. So I think it would be almost inhuman to not be nervous about it. I think that's a completely normal kind of emotion to have, but ultimately I think you just have to stay strong and just realize that if you just get your head down, just get through it, and you can do it. It really was kind of a moment that I'd waited for my entire life. Seeing as I hadn't remembered my first transplant, it almost weirdly felt like this was my first transplant, because it was the first one I had sort of living memory of. And obviously when you've kind of known your whole life that this was going to happen, it's kind of a weird feeling. Obviously, if you have deadlines at work or uni or anything like that, you kind of only know a few weeks or months before that something's going to happen. But when you've kind of known forever, it's quite a daunting thing to know that that thing is finally happening. So that was definitely something that I was dealing with. But it was almost like Christmas. It was really nerve-wracking but exciting, and just a sort of a new chapter of life that I felt like I hadn't experienced yet, because it was something that was completely new to me. But I really, really was just so happy for it to finally be happening, and just couldn't wait to wake up on the other side. And I think the results speak for themselves, honestly. So this is the 7-day post-transplant transformation. So as you can see before, I had a lot of fluid buildup. I really struggled taking fluid off at dialysis. It made me feel really unwell. I would get really dizzy. I would feel very dehydrated. I would feel really dizzy and everything after sessions and during sessions too. But unfortunately, fluid buildup was a really big problem for me, as you can see from the first photo. But within 7 days, that was what I looked like. So that was kind of wild. Biggest like accidental weight loss journey ever. So unfortunately, my hair was a bit broken, so we could ignore the hairstyle. But ultimately, you can see it made the world a difference, and I was so happy to just be rid of the fluid. I could breathe through my nose, which was a miracle. But yeah, it was absolutely incredible. So I remember sort of briefly waking up from the anaesthetic straight after the transplant, and an excited consultant standing at the end of my bed, just basically repeating, "It's produced 4 litres of urine in the first hour," which was quite strange to hear when you don't really know what's going on, but obviously equally very exciting to know that the kidney was actually working. So ultimately, that was the main thing that I took, because I know that occasionally it can take a little while for the kidney to sort of wake up, I suppose, but ultimately mine worked straight away. So it was such an incredible feeling. My blood pressure, unfortunately, didn't come down straight away. So I was in ICU for 5 days while they monitored my blood pressure and tried out a few new meds and slowly reduced some of the medication as different things started to kick in. But even within those first few days, the kidney was working amazingly and just doing pretty much everything it should, apart from controlling blood pressure. But it was okay. We would give it time to do that, because it had a lot of work to do there. So it was just doing amazing. And I sat up after about 3 days because the blood pressure had been high and I was quite out of it, obviously on a lot of post-transplant medication. I didn't really sit up. I know a lot of people do, they get up and walk around, but just for me, it took about 3 days to sort of get up and out of bed. And I don't think I actually got out of bed at that point, but the physio helped me sit up, and it was nice to be vertical, even though it felt rather bizarre at that point. But yeah, my teddy bear got me through, so it was all good. The next few months were busy, and also just again, at this point, it kind of feels like a blur, but I experienced lots of bloating, lots of euphoria, lots of kind of impatience, and just wanting everything to be perfect straight away. But of course, nothing's ever perfect straight away. Like, that's quite unrealistic. So I had a lot of experience of bloating, and the kidney that got put in me was quite large. So obviously I'm quite small, I'm about 4'10", so it was a big kidney in a small person, so that created lots and lots of bloating and just feeling very uncomfortable. So that was unfortunate, but again, nothing that could have been avoided. And yeah, it was just all slowly over time. Things started getting better. The blood pressure came down and became completely normal, if not too low, which was a miracle and something I never thought would happen, to the point where we removed the neckline. So we got the green light to have my neckline removed on the 27th of August, which was exactly a month afterwards. And I forgot to mention that this transplant happened exactly 22 years to the same day after the first one, which was kind of freaky. But yeah, again, exact month later, the neckline got removed, and that was super bizarre, not having my line there after having it with me for 2.5 years. But it was lovely to have it gone and not have to shower with a piece of plastic there. And yeah, after about 5 weeks, sort of the bloating had calmed down a little bit. I managed to go out on quite a few daily walks and walk around the park. It was beautiful sunshine, as it was end of summer. And yeah, I just started feeling like my energy had come back, and I just felt like myself again, which was so lovely after so long of just feeling just rubbish on dialysis. But it was so nice to be feeling good again. And this is kind of just where I am now, really. I'm living life. I'm still being careful because of COVID. I feel like a lot of people are going out and doing everything, but I think with with everything that I've been through, I'm still very cautious about it, but I am slowly learning that going out is fine and you can go out and still be fine. But yeah, I go for meals. Me and my partner go for beautiful walks on the beach. We've been out in our camper van on holiday. We moved house and got a beautiful office, which I'm sat in now, and just don't have a puffy face and completely no energy anymore. I feel like a different person, honestly. It's like I've got my old self back. I feel like I did, during that 22 years, and that kind of 2.5 years of feeling tired and just rubbish are gone. The transplant has completely changed my life, and touch wood, it's doing amazingly still, and I couldn't be happier. And honestly, this is what post-transplant life looks like. The transplant is the end goal, and of course it's not a cure, it is kind of a treatment, but it really does make the world of difference, and life can continue with kidney disease. It's definitely not the end of the road. It is such a difficult thing to get through, and there's no denying that it affects your life, of course, but it doesn't define you. You have other elements to your personality, to your daily life. It's not everything about you. You can have other things, and you are a bigger person than your kidney disease. A few of the things that helped me stay positive generally were journaling and writing down my feelings. I felt that really helped. I know, I speak for myself, but I know that a lot of other people have said the same, that when they write their feelings down, it kind of slows their brain down a little bit and helps process what they're going through. And I definitely found this for myself. So just writing things down and sort of brain dumping onto paper really made the world a difference. So that's something I would definitely recommend. I took part in walking challenges and just generally got outside as much as I could. I signed up with the Conqueror events, I think they're called, and they're virtual walking challenges, and you get medals for doing them. And who doesn't love a medal? Like, everyone loves a medal. And yeah, it just really encourages you to get those miles in, get out and walk as much as possible, which I know really, really helped me for sure. My online community really helped, and just supporting other people, knowing that my process and what I went through can help other people is something that definitely kept me going, because if they need someone to look up to, I would love to be that person. And as much as other people helped me at the start, if you can create that chain of help, then that's just incredible. So I really am thankful for them, and so glad that I can help people through that. Obviously, watching my favourite films, Harry Potter, was on repeat as soon as I was out of hospital. Absolutely love Harry Potter. So yeah, just as much as you can, just fill your time with things that make you happy and things that you enjoy, especially through the recovery process and the dialysis process as a whole. If you could just fill your life with as much things that you enjoy and make you happy, you realise that there is so much more to life than your transplant process. And although, like I said, it's a big part, there are other things too, and you deserve to feel as good as you possibly can. I love creating, painting. I do as much of that as possible. So I just love art. I opened a little online store and designed my own earrings and jewelry and sweatshirts and all the kind of stuff, just to have some other form of creativity that I could create things and just enjoy my time and think of something else. So that really helped too. And something not mentioned on here, I also saw the unit renal psychologist, who really helped. She was incredible, and it was really good to speak to someone, again, kind of outside the situation, who could give quite a level point on everything, whether it was kidney related or not, or just general sort of anxieties on things. That really helped. So if your unit has one of those, or the NKF also have their helpline, if you feel like you would like to speak to someone sort of outside of your situation, then I definitely recommend it, because that really helped me. So those are a few things. And generally, I think it's good to reflect on reasons why you're happy to be alive, because ultimately the whole of this process is to just keep you as healthy and happy as possible. So these are just a few, just to name a few reasons why I am happy that I am alive, and why I'm happy that although the process was difficult, it led me to still being here today. And of course, you can have a little read of all of those, but ultimately, the most important one is petting cute kitties. Definitely. So no, there's just a few things, but spending time with the people I love, you know, petting cute cats, obviously. But there's so many reasons, and there's too many to really name here, but so good to be alive. And that is just the main point, really. You got this. So yeah, thank you so much for listening. If you do have any questions, please let me know. And if you do want to contact me sort of on Instagram or anything else, you're more than welcome to. I'm happy to talk to sort of anyone about anything, really, if you have any questions for me privately. But yeah, absolutely. Thank you for listening. And just remember that you will get through it. You have got this. And I completely understand how difficult it is, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. So thank you.
Hattie, thank you very much for that very moving story. And we've got lots of questions, but more of the comments are thank you very much. Inspiring and things like that. Talking about your Instagram, someone's put, I wonder if you made any friends for life what had the same situation as you when you posted about your situation.
So Instagram, I have actually made some friends for life. Genuinely, it's incredible how many people you can meet on such a sort of, well, small community, I suppose, in terms of the general people that are out there. I haven't made any friends for life within the kidney community, but I have made friends for life sort of outside of that, and that I have met up with in person and sort of keep in contact still to this day. And there are actually plenty of people within the kidney community too that have contacted me that I do speak to on a regular basis and check in with, and we still talk about, you know, their worries, my worries, and it's really nice to confer with different people about different medications and what worked for, you know, each of us. So there are definitely people that I recognize and I'm still in contact with as much as possible from there, yeah, which is lovely.
Thank you. Also, someone's put, when you were on dialysis, did you self-care at all?
I suppose, does that mean, did I do dialysis at home?
No, did you do it yourself? So did you needle yourself or things like that?
No, so I was actually at a unit in Bath, so I didn't ever do it myself. I had hemodialysis, but I was at a unit the whole time. The nurses were honestly incredible. I had a proper little family there, and I actually quite enjoyed, well, I wouldn't say I enjoyed going to dialysis, but I enjoyed the community at dialysis. I had real friendships there, and I still keep in contact with a good few of the nurses now. And, you know, I consider them friends for life too, because it feels more like a family. I feel like when you're at dialysis, especially, well, that's how I felt personally. It was really just like a little family, because you see the same people every time, you see the same nurses, you see the same other patients. And although I didn't do it myself, so technically can't answer the person's question, but it really did help me going and being part of something and talking to other people about what they were going through at the unit. So that worked really, really well for me.
Now, you touched briefly that you've got a partner. Now, I know the story behind this, and you actually met him while lockdown was going ahead, didn't you?
Yeah, so we actually met on the dating app. And I was in lockdown and he was in lockdown, and we just instantly clicked, and we started messaging and FaceTiming, and we actually had our first date on my balcony, sat 3 meters apart. So that we were still social distancing. But yeah, it kind of went from there, and he moved in a few months later, and we've been living together ever since. And he has been such an incredible rock through this whole experience. And I would have had to have done it without him, but I don't know how I would have done it without him. He is so amazing and so supportive, and just such a coincidence that we met at such an unlikely time. But yeah, I just love him to bits, and it was amazing what lockdown brought to me in a way.
And just done some amazing fundraising for the National Kidney Federation as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, so he's actually just walked the length of the Cotswold Way, which is incredible. So he did a 102-mile walk in 8 days, I believe it was in the end, and raised £900 for the NKF, which is just outstanding. So I'm so proud of him, and we just can't thank the NKF enough, really, for everything they've done for us. And it was just, as much as we could say thank you, that was what he did. And he's an incredible guy, and I'm sure he'll do many more challenges in the future, and that was the first of many. But it was a big journey, but one he's proud of doing, and one I'm very proud of him doing too.
Well, we would like to thank you for today, because that was absolutely fantastic. So thank you very much, Hattie.
Oh, thank you.
Oh, it's our pleasure.